Hello, kids, and welcome into a very patriotic edition of the Matt Murphy Radio Show, but that's every day, isn't it? It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you with us on this Tuesday. Feels like Thursday, July 2nd, 2024. It's going to be a good day. I'm excited about it. I hope you are as well. Happy afternoon. It's beautiful outside. It's hot outside. It ought to be hot outside. It's a couple of days before we celebrate officially our Independence Day, but we're celebrating today and every day on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you missed the crossover between myself and Chris Hand, I want to note that I was here on time, unlike Chris Hand earlier today. Bell, you tell me. I think my math is correct. And I don't mean to give Chris hell. I mean, he was behind a fatal accident on 24, so I'm not trying to make light of that. That was a very serious situation.
Yeah, I saw that carnage.
It was bad news. Yeah. But he's the guy that decided to move to Murfreesboro, not me, right? I mean, you do your research. I love Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro is great. I love all of you people down in Murfreesboro. Love Hop Springs. Love everything about it.
Ken Weaver's
in Murfreesboro, for goodness sake. But I wouldn't move there because Harp, are you in Murfreesboro? Hold on a second. Is Harp in Murfreesboro? Jay Harp is in Murfreesboro. Huh.
Yes, I admit.
Well, not right now. He's back there.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, present. I saw that the traffic issues and, left a little early. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Do you do 24 every day then?
Most of the time, yeah. Today it was 8:40 to 65 on up this way.
That stings the nostrils.
Yeah, it's like 50 some odd miles.
Yeah, that's right. That's rough. Well, I did not realize that. Well, I'll treat you nicer from now on. Okay.
No, he won't. Because he feels sorry
Trust
for me.
He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I probably.
I mean, we enjoy Murfreesboro, but you're right. The commute is hell.
Jay, I want to ask you a question while I've got you on the line.
Yes, sir.
By the way, Jay Harper delivering the newscast, and I absolutely love him. We call it JBC News because we don't have to listen to the other news that rhymes with JBC News. Jay Harper, you know who Slash is? Slash.
No, of course.
If I say Slash, do you know who that is?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Bell, you know who Slash is? If I say Slash, do you know who that is?
Not really ringing a bell.
Yeah, shut your mouth. Did y'all know that Slash is going to be in the building at 1:30 today?
Well, I did hear that through the grapevine, yes.
Jay, here's the question. Without participation from you, Headless Bell, Jay, if you were my executive producer and I said to you, we should try to get Slash on, would you take me seriously?
Well, of course. I mean, he would be of interest to listeners regardless of their political leanings. I mean, it's just kind of a human interest thing. Right?
I would think that people that listen to this radio station are very familiar with the work of Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, Slash, etc. Yeah. And they would be interested if he's in the building to have him stop by for 5 or 10 minutes.
There's particularly a male demographic and age group there that would certainly enjoy that, I would think. Our WTN listeners.
I would further think, Jay, while we're thinking along these lines, that if you threw it out to the listening audience on the membersnutrition.com super text line, hey, any questions for Slash? You would get a laundry list of questions.
I would tend to agree. Mm-hmm. Now, hell, the man's appearing in TV commercials. I mean...
It was the first question I actually thought of is that considering your hell-raising days in the late 80s and early 90s, did you ever think that you would be in like a Rocket Mortgage commercial or whatever it is?
Whatever it is, yeah.
The guy was shooting heroin in the 80s.
And now he's in he's in a Geico commercial. Yeah. I mean, anyway, so I tell Bell that Slash is in the building, we should get him on. And Bell said, what'd you say, Bell? You remember?
Maybe we can have him make sandwiches?
Well, you said why.
Yeah, why? But he'd have to wear a hairnet.
This is actually a pretty funny story. Bell had Slash offer to make him a sandwich.
I was working for Virgin Records in Denver, and Snake Pit was on tour, and I had the opening band. But Gilby Clarke was in Snake Pit, and Gilby was going to have a solo album coming out on Virgin. So I went back to the bus to introduce myself, and I knocked on the door. And
Slash was playing for Snake Pit at the time, right?
So that was his band, and Gilby was in his band. Okay. And Gilby answered the door, so I introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm your Virgin rep. I'll be working your record. He's like, oh, cool, man, come on up. And invited me on the bus, and Slash was sitting in the booth making himself a sandwich. And Gilby introduced me to Slash, and he was like, oh, hey, man, cool. You want a sandwich? And I'm like, thank you, but no, I'm good. I appreciate it. So I've always told the story as Slash offered to make me a... I don't know if he was...
I don't know. I don't think that's untrue. You can leave that open. I mean, because you did not accept. had you accepted, it is entirely likely that Slash would have begun preparing. He would have gotten out some bread and put some meat on bread.
Well, all that was sitting on the table, so I just imagined him pushing it to the other side of the booth and go, there you go, make it.
See, I like it the other way, where you like mayo and mustard on your sandwich, or what do you want on that sandwich?
But I actually left Virgin Records to go work at Geffen, which was his label.
Kathy has written in on the membersnutrition.com super text line and says, Matt, why is Jay Harper, I assume, she just said Jay, implying that female listeners don't like Guns N' Roses?
No, I was not implying that they did not, but WTN listeners tend to skew male.
Yeah, we're probably, 64,
so no, certainly,
something like that. Yeah.
No implication. I apologize if that was the implication that came across.
No, I think the implication was that Guns N' Roses is a band that probably is more appealing to men than women on the whole. We're not trying to stereotype, but I think that's a fair assessment. I think you're exactly right. Anyway,
when your debut album sells 30 million copies, you ain't doing that without some women.
Of course. Oh, by all means.
Was Appetite for Destruction the first?
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? Maybe I knew that at some point.
Debut of all time in the history of the music business.
And you know what? I have it on my I have it in my playlist on my phone, and in total, and there's nary a bad track on that album. I mean, there are some better than others, obviously, but that's a great album. Absolutely. In fact, they couldn't follow it up. I mean, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 is okay. Don't get me wrong, but difficult task to follow. But what was the other one? The Spaghetti Incident?
Spaghetti Incident. And they also had an EP that was largely acoustic called Lies.
And then that was it, right?
With the exception of Chinese Democracy, which was really just a Axl solo album that he used. Slash and Duff made the mistake of selling the name rights back to Axl when he basically blackmailed them on tour and said, sell me back the name rights or I'm going home. And so they signed it off. So at that point, Axl could take the name and call whatever he wanted to call Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses.
That's probably not a good idea.
Well, they're all back together now and making millions of dollars. So what the hell?
And making Geico commercials.
Yes.
So anyway, Slash in the house at 1:30. So Bell's going to run off and get him in the studio for us.
And he's here to do an interview for a Cumulus syndicated show called Steve Gorman Rocks, which is hosted by Steve Gorman from the Black Crowes.
What did Gorman play in the Black Crowes? I don't know.
He was the drummer.
Was he?
Yeah.
That's another great band.
Yeah.
Fabulous band. I mean, that's
also on Geffen.
It's my zone, maybe. Anyway, well, what remains to be seen. If we can snag him for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe we'll do that. If not, then, there it is. Is it true they were discovered by Clint Eastwood? Writes 1480.
No.
It feels like an urban legend.
They were in a movie called The Deadpool, which
sure.
Was one of Clint's Dirty Harry movies. So it was right after the album was released, and I actually went to see that in the theater because they were in it.
Not the best Dirty Harry movie, but
No, but even a bad Dirty Harry movie is pretty good.
Still pretty good, right? Right. Well, one way or the other, he's in the house, and it might be a nice respite from the news of the day. And we've got lots of news today. Let's get the pleasantries out of the way and get things lumbering under our own weight. It is Tuesday. It is July 2nd. We mentioned that. It is a gorgeous day, albeit a little bit hot, and maybe a pop-up or two. I don't know actually, I take that back. I don't know what the rain's doing. I have no idea. It could not rain. It could rain. I don't know. We'll wait for one of
those two things will happen.
Yeah, we'll wait for one of our qualified meteorologists to let us know not only whether it's going to rain or not, but what clothing we need to wear later on this afternoon. We've got episode 603 in progress. That is our episode number of the day. It is also LFT 122. Locks for Trump, day 122, as I commit to not cutting my hair until we have a new president or a new president-elect, whichever comes first. And frankly, I would have told you president-elect would come first when all of this started. But the way that Joe Biden's going nowadays, you never know. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about
dog-faced pony show.
Hey, don't interrupt me, President Biden. I'm trying to talk badly about you. So this immunity ruling,
keep going.
We right in the aftermath of the immunity ruling, it was not 3 hours old when we came on air yesterday, and we were just dissecting it. And the political left did not seem to have their sea legs underneath them as to how they would respond to it. It seems to be a fairly open and shut case with regard to how the Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 way. if you noticed, one thing that I'll comment on from the jump. Anyone observing the news from yesterday around noontime to today around noontime, so a 24-hour period, have you noticed the amount of airtime given to the dissent? The amount of airtime that ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, #NeverCNN, Garbage Network for the Garbage People, all of these organizations, New York Times and the rest, the amount of time that they're giving to Sonia Sotomayor's dissent. Did you hear one network quote the majority opinion? By the way, I did not, and I listened for it. All of them quoting Sotomayor, all of them talking about, SEAL Team 6 is going to kill people and all of this other nonsense. Joe Biden coming out at 7:45 Eastern time because he couldn't manage to get to late. That's my theory. Normally you would hold that for a little while longer, but Joe can't. He's got to go to bed, y'all. Speaking of Joe.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Well, we did. We beat Medicare.
And you'll never be able to take that away from him, even if he is only a one-term president.
Did you see the thing yesterday, Bill?
Probably. What thing are you talking about?
The little 5-minute blip that he did on the Supreme Court ruling where he comes out and he gives the 4-minute speech and he flubs 3 or 4 times during the 4-minute speech. And all of the liberals said, Joe's back, baby! Woo! Our boy is back! Boy, oh boy, he read it and he flubbed it like 4 or 5 times and he had bronzer on. Joe Biden went orange. Orange is the new Joe.
Orange Man good?
Did you see him?
No, I did not see it.
He was orange. He has obviously, because that was the problem with the debate.
Clearly.
It's obvious that someone said Joe looked too pale during the debate, which he did.
And Trump won based on the fact that he uses tanner.
And so now they put tanner on the dude. There is 0.00% chance that they did not put tanner on the dude between the debate and his appearance last night. And I'm watching him stand behind. Who's he standing behind? What are we doing there? There's someone standing at the podium about to introduce Joe Biden. Are you watching this on #NeverCNN?
Yeah, I
don't understand what's going on.
Slug doesn't explain anything.
No, well, if he comes to the podium and they go to that, let's listen. I want to listen to Joe every chance we get to remind you what a stumbling, bumbling, dementia-addled fool we have as president of the United States. Well, anyway, so the immunity ruling comes out and everybody freaks out about it, or at least the political left. They absolutely freak out about it, saying, Donald Trump's going to kill all of his political enemies now. None of these people have read the ruling. None of these people have read the ruling. Or you're too dumb to understand it. If you read it and are too dumb to understand it, or are too buried underneath Trump derangement syndrome to understand it, well, then I guess you're forgiven. And there's nothing more that we can do for you. Ooh, he's stepping up to the podium, Bell. I'm ready for this.
He's supposedly talking about extreme weather, Matt.
Okay, he's apologizing for his back. See that bronzer on him? Looks good. See that poor fellow behind him? Hands crossed. Yeah, because of summer. Uh-huh. Hot out there.
In the desert?
Yeah. Okay. Climate change talk coming. Well, we need to make extreme heat against the law. Say that again. He's reading off the teleprompter. It says, say that again.
And what he won't tell you is that internationally, cold kills more people.
Mm-hmm. Of course it does. Ever? Like in the history of ever? Ever? Okay. It must be is it between 10 and 4, Bell? Will you do some math on this? It must be between 10 and 4 because he's going fast.
It's 1:20 in his time zone.
Okay, very good. So there you are. Sharp. I've got another F word for Joe.
Unless you pay more tax.
Oh, boy. Let's hear this. Let's go. Oh, my God. Regulations. Let's regulate businesses. They're regulating rest breaks. But these businesses, they're evil and they want to kill their employees, right, Joe? The government's the only thing that can protect you from heat, everybody.
Only government can save you.
Construction farm workers, they want to kill you. They want to kill you.
Well, it's like with rich CEOs. They want you poor and broke so you can't afford the stuff they sell.
Exactly right. Let's go to number 2. Resilience. This dude is now saying that future flooding is an emergency. The Federal Emergency Management Agency needs to be disbanded. You heard me. You heard me. There we go, baby. NGOs. Let's get them out to the NGOs. Let's buy some votes. Let's exploit summer. Wait a minute, but don't we benefit from less cold? Right? Oh, sorry, 5th. White House summer on extreme heat. The caption says it. White House summer on extreme heat. I think he meant summit. That it's summertime.
Well, good's a bribe if nobody knows they can take it.
That's exactly right. And we have plenty of money, right? We're only $34 trillion in debt.
I just print it. Yeah, whatever. It's complicated.
If you don't take the free money, you're not beholden to us.
And you have to know it's there to take it.
Be careful on hot pavement, everybody.
Don't tell me what to do. Oh, we're saved.
Heat.gov. Let's get heat.gov. Here we go. Heat.gov. Says the site can't be reached. Hey, Bell, would it surprise you to know that heat.gov doesn't work?
Must be a subsection of the ACA website.
Yeah, I'm just going to go heat.
Yeah, I tried. It's not letting me access it.
Here we go. I finally got on it. Let's have Sheba. I wonder how much this website costs. Seriously.
Well, what'd they spend on healthcare.gov? Like 30
billions.
30 billion?
Billions. Oh, maybe he just told us. Maybe Joe's answering our questions now. I wonder if he'll take any questions. What do you think? That's the fourth cough. Just mumble through it. I know we have a break to take, but I'm fascinated with this.
Healthcare.gov is 1.7 billion, just.
Oh, is that what it costs?
Yeah, just 1.7.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 1.7 billion.
This website cost 1.7 billion?
Healthcare.gov did.
Oh, sorry. Well, then this one's probably about the same.
Yeah, well, maybe
whatever.
1.5.
Well, if Joe knows anything, Joe knows stupid.
He's getting aggressive now, man. He said stupid.
He said stupid. Nobody denies that there's climate change, buddy. Climate changes every day. Boy, that's a real change of policy from the previous 45 presidents. Idiot. We're willing to...
Remember, work together means do what we tell you.
All right, there's Joe Biden speaking to the American people today about the fact that it is summertime, and in the summertime it gets hot. There's never anything not worthy of exploiting, especially when you are Joe Biden. What do you want me to do? You want me to go to the bottom of the hour and we'll absorb? How do you want me to do it?
Let's
you
go
tell
to break.
me. Okay, all right. Well, we're going to look over the heat.gov website. We'll hear from Jay Harper with the news. Coming up in just a moment. There's 10 minutes of our lives that we'll never get back on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Gentlemen, if you're not feeling as energetic as you used to, it might be the heat, according to Joe Biden, or it may be something inside of your body. It might be your T levels. Have you had them checked? Have you had your levels inside your body checked? You know, there's numbers that we need to know, guys. I mean, obviously, you need to know your cholesterol. You need to know your blood pressure. You need to know your pulse rate and what your resting heart rate is. And you need to know those T levels. And at Tennessee Men's Clinic, they're going to find out all of those things for you, and they're going to figure out what is causing the lack of energy, motivation, or drive, particularly if it has begun manifesting itself in the bedroom. I understand that's a personal conversation between you and your urologist at Tennessee Men's Clinic. I'm just making the connection, baby. And a connection needs to be made if you're having trouble, because it can be solved, and it can be solved quick. They have options and plans for you laid out at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more. Gentlemen, don't wait a moment on this. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or call and schedule your appointment today. Cool Springs and Midtown. Let's get it done, men. Tennessee Men's Clinic. 615-208-9090, 208-9090.
Good afternoon. It's 12:33. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine. We're at 90 degrees on Music Row. A complete hot forecast coming up. Well, you probably heard about it all morning. The westbound lanes of I-24 were shut down due to a wreck this morning. That was near the Davidson and Rutherford County lines. The westbound lanes are now open after that deadly crash that involved several vehicles earlier today. Metro Police confirming one person died in that crash. Multiple fire and emergency units responded to mile marker 62 on I-24 West just before about 7:30 this morning. Two vehicles colliding, one of them a pickup. It rested on its side after turning over. All westbound lanes, again, they were shut down for the wreck. Traffic was initially diverted off of Old Hickory Boulevard. But again, the westbound lanes of I-24 near mile marker 62 have been reopened, but expect still some residual delays in that area. On the national front, some more developments in the hush money case of former President Trump. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, he says he doesn't have a problem delaying sentencing by a couple of weeks to give the judge time to rule on the claim by Trump's lawyers that the conviction be tossed due to the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity. Sentencing, however, is still set at the moment for Thursday of next week. That would be July 11th. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It is 12:39. Man, lots to do, lots to get into. The Murphy Show in progress. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joe Biden interrupting the Libertarian lunchtime hour. I did not think about the fact that you were all trying to eat lunch while you were listening to Sloppy Sleepy Joe. My apologies to you. Joe wants you to know heat, hot, water, wet. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN if you'd like to be a part of the show, either via the telephones or the membersnutrition.com super text line. By the way, where would you rank, just talking here, me and you, Bell, where would you rank Slash in terms of guitar playing? Would Slash be in the top 10? Would be in the top 20? I mean, this is very difficult to do, I understand, but...
As you always say, you can't really make a matter of taste, a matter of opinion.
Because the styles are just so different amongst guitar playing?
I mean, in terms of what I personally like, easily in the top 25, probably in the top 10.
I didn't realize that he was as well regarded as he was until I did a little research. Not that we're going to get to talk to him today, but I was doing a little research
on the
off chance.
I really want a sandwich, so we might.
You think if you walked up to him and said, "Hey, you make me that sandwich yet?" He would remember who you were?
I worked at his record label for almost 4 years. He would have no clue who I was, and I've met him multiple times.
Time magazine named him runner-up to Jimi Hendrix in their top 10 best electric guitar players in 2009. Rolling Stone placed him at number 65 on their list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time.
Which, again, proves libs can't come to a consensus.
Guitar World ranked his guitar solo in November Rain as number 6 on their list of the 100 greatest guitar solos of all time. And Total Guitar placed his Sweet Child of Mine riff at number 1 on their greatest riffs of all time. Certainly top 10.
That was something, that riff was something he did to warm up before shows. And I think it was either Izzy or Duff was like, that we should turn that into a song.
Just a doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
And he, for the longest time, he just despised the song because he didn't like the riff.
Because it was just a warm-up.
Yeah, it was just him, like what he would do to warm up before a show. And the other guys thought it was a great riff.
Anyway, Slash is in the house. Whether he's on the show or not remains to be seen. 1242. So the immunity ruling has the political left absolutely freaking out beyond measure. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. The justices on the United States Supreme Court, in a ruling written by Chief Justice John Roberts, determined that the President of the United States has substantial immunity for official duties and official acts occurring during his term in office. The High Court yesterday ruled 6-3 that a president, let me just say it again, has substantial immunity for official acts that occur during his time in office. A decision that has implication for former President Donald Trump, whose prosecution on charges related to January 6th regarding the breach and alleged election interference are currently on hold. Understand something. The reason the political left is freaking out about this is because it destroys their lawfare against Donald Trump. In their dissent from the United States Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity, the court's liberal justices suggested that the majority opinion allows for a slew of alarming scenarios, including Sonia Sotomayor. She was quoted by all of the major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them. None of them quoted John Roberts. None of them quoted that John Roberts said that the president is obviously not above the law and the president cannot engage in clearly illegal conduct during his time as president of the United States. Otherwise, he would obviously be prosecuted. None of them noted the fact that if a president, in fact, murders someone in cold blood during his presidency, he's not immune from that murder, obviously. Any reasonable, sane human being understands that is not an official act of his presidency, but we're talking about liberals, and they are neither sane nor reasonable. So despite the fact that the majority opinion addressed some of these concerns and issues, the mainstream media rolled with it because what else are they going to do? They have to make this look as ridiculous as humanly possible, to the point that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has announced that she wants to impeach the court. Because, liberals don't like democracy if it doesn't go their way. Oh, they scream that they love it so much. Oh, they embrace it so much. What they really embrace is mob rule, which is what they talk about when they're talking about democracy. What we're talking about is a constitutional republic that believes in the rule of law. Does this make the president above the law? No, obviously it does not. Does this designate that the president has particular and specialized duties that must immunize him from repeated and regular lawsuits during his time and after his time in office? Of course it does. The majority opinion from Chief Justice John Roberts explicitly stated that the president, quote, is not above the law, end quote. And immunity is only a factor when it involves, quote, an official act, end quote. The justices then sent the case that they were dealing with back to the lower courts to determine if these acts at the center of Trump's case were official or not. The ruling raises a series of possibilities according to the dissenting justices. Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Elena Kagan wrote in a primary dissent that the court's majority opinion, quote, makes a mockery of the principal foundation to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. All right, okay. Let's hold that for just a moment. According to Sotomayor, the President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way under the majority's reasoning, he will now be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune, 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 immune.
How are any of those official acts?
Hold on. Sonia Sotomayor is arguing like a ninth grade debater. This is the type of garbage, if I were forced into a position, during a debate, during high school level or college level debate, you have the affirmative and the negative, right? And if you're on the affirmative, then you are arguing for a particular proposition, resolved that the United States of America is whatever. And you have to argue in favor of that. And then you present your case to argue in favor of that. If you are on the negative, then you have to argue against whatever affirmative case is being made by the affirmative side of the argument or the debate. And this is the type of garbage that I would hear in 9th or 10th grade debate. You're just making things up. As Bell K said, and that's where I was going, Bell, how is any of that a part of his official duties? How is it ever a part of the president's official duties to assassinate a political rival? Answer, it's not. But what the liberals are doing is they are giving us a glimpse inside of their own minds as to what they would love to see. This is classic projection. This is where they immediately go. Ooh, we have the power to assassinate our political rivals? Are you telling me yesterday on social media, if you were on the X machine, it was a delight watching as liberal brains melted down. The liberal trolls didn't know what to do with themselves, and they began suggesting all of these things that Joe Biden would have the ability to do under this new Supreme Court ruling. He should assassinate Trump, they said. Now, obviously, we're not promoting any of that. I'm relating to you what was said on the X machine. You can go and look at it for yourself. Don't come at me, Secret Service. Nobody's promoting that on the Matt Murphy Show. I'm simply relating all of these people on social media that were suggesting that Joe Biden should go ahead and assassinate Donald Trump. None of them actually believe any of this. Sonia Sotomayor has her lip pooched out because she's not getting her way. She's acting like a child. A child. As opposed to what she is supposed to be, and that is a Supreme Court justice. Do you think Antonin Scalia reacted this way in the many years on the court when he was overruled by the prevailing liberal majority on the court? Where he offered his dissenting opinion and remained judicial in said opinion? Rolling over in his grave now. Sonia Sotomayor was not done, though. She said, let the president violate the law. Let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain. Let him use his official power for evil ends. Because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he might not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That's the majority's message today. No, ma'am. The majority's message is that the president of the United States, based on his unique role in the United States of America and the world, must have a certain level of immunity from civil and criminal prosecution during his time in office and as to his official duties in office. And I'm going to give you an example. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you several. So under the thought process of liberals, according to what Sonia Sotomayor has said, according to what so many of the talking heads on the liberal mainstream networks have said over the last 24 hours, I've watched so you don't have to, the president should not enjoy the types of official act immunity that we're discussing. In other words, the argument being made on the part of the liberals on the court and the liberals across America regarding presidential immunity is that there should be none. I have a list that I compiled personally last night, and it is a partial list, and I'm looking forward to you adding to it, of things that we can bring Joe Biden up on, charges that we can bring against Joe Biden if the liberals had their way. In other words, if a president does not enjoy criminal or civil immunity from prosecution, lawsuit, or liability, let's go ahead and create our laundry list of things that we're going to charge Joe Biden with. If you want to play that game, I'm willing to play that game, and we're going to do it next. So get them in here. Membersnutrition.com, super text line. Ways that we can prosecute Joe Biden if the liberal court is right that he doesn't enjoy any level of presidential immunity whatsoever. 615-737-9986. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk. You know, it's a dangerous world, and Defense Systems helps prepare you for that potential danger. They're not here to scare you at Defense Systems. If you own a business, if you own a school, if you run a church, or any sort of place where people gather, listen up, because Defense Systems wants to talk to you. Brink Fiddler and his team, they're available for you. They're ready for you, and they're ready to help you understand active shooter response, workplace violence prevention, security improvement. They'll consult you there. Emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training, and all of it is customized specific to your facility, your school, your church setting, or your business. Brink Fiddler doesn't want to scare you. His team doesn't want to scare you. They understand that it's a crazy world out there, however, and hope is simply not a plan. It's time to get trained. You need the best. You need Defense Systems. They've now trained over 200 school systems across the United States of America, primarily here in the state of Tennessee, and they want to train you next. DefenseSystems.com or 615-236-6484, 236-6484 for our good friends at Defense Systems.
President Biden slated to meet with Democratic governors that are concerned about the president's debate performance and a possible delay in sentencing for Donald Trump's hush money trial. That's all coming up at 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It is 12:58, almost 12:59, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I have a laundry list of ways that we can sue Joe Biden. If liberals are right, if the liberal argument is correct, that a president of the United States should enjoy no immunity from official acts while in office. This, according to Trump versus U.S., and the minority, the dissent on the court said, no, this is insane that he could do this because now he can blow things up and he can blow people up and he can kill people. And okay. We will go over in just a moment, right after Jay Harper's newscast, the number of different ways that we can sue Joe Biden. And I'm curious if you have any new ways. I've got like 13 different categories, and then I have subcategories. We're going to start with border and go from there. That's coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Would love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. Anytime you're ready. Telephone lines and text lines are open. Back in a moment on The Murphy Show. Stand by.
It is 1 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, got a few clouds out there. The humidity's back. 91 degrees, a full forecast in 2 minutes. President Biden trying to rally support within his party after last week's disappointing debate, and he's now expected to meet with many state governors. ABC's Molly Nagel, she's reporting from the White House.
President Biden is expected to speak with Democratic governors tomorrow after his rocky debate performance. Sources familiar with the matter tell ABC News the meeting has not been finalized, but some of the governors may meet with the president in person, while others may join virtually. On Monday, Democratic governors held a call amongst themselves to discuss the president's performance Thursday that has set off concerns within the party. Molly Nagel, ABC News, the White House.
As expected, a delay's been expected, and apparently it may happen in former President Trump's hush money sentencing date, currently set for a week from this Thursday. That would be July 11th. His attorneys challenging the verdict following the Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. Catherine Falders, she reports from D.C.
Prosecutors in the case don't oppose Trump's request to file paperwork, to file additional briefs on the matter. In fact, prosecutors said, and I'm reading this just in a recent letter that we just obtained, that they are requesting a deadline of July 24th, 2 weeks after Trump requested a deadline to file a response as it relates to this. So this will most certainly kick that sentencing deadline, I could imagine, into August.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Here we are. Here we go. Hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us. It is 1:04 to be precise. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're appreciative. We're here from noon until 3 on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. Although I say that right before I tell you we're not here Thursday or Friday. A best of, quote-unquote, program for Thursday to celebrate Independence Day, or as liberals call it, the 4th of July. Friday, Dez? I think Dez, right?
Yeah, Dez is in front.
Dez Dickerson. Oh, my goodness gracious. Talk about a rock and roll legend. There's Dez Dickerson filling in for us from noon until 3. We were speaking of rock and roll legends earlier today because apparently, and you know that it's getting close to time because there's always a hubbub. I just walked down the hall into the break room, and on down the hall where I guess this interview with Slash is going to be going on, there's a hubbub. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's a hubbub. Everybody moving stuff around. People are actually cleaning down there.
Whenever I would have to take an artist into a radio station, especially a big one, you always dreaded the hubbub because it slowed everything down.
A good amount of hubbub. I don't think this is Slash-related hubbub quite yet, but you know when Ken Weaver, our own Ken Weaver, is putting something up on Facebook about Slash's appearance today, that it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, Slash of Guns N' Roses is going to be in the building today, and I've suggested to Bel K that he is not the executive producer that I think he is if he does not, A, go ahead and get him on the radio with us, and B, bring up the fact that Slash offered to make him a sandwich at one point in his life. Hey, you want a sandwich? Is that what he said? Hey, you want a sandwich? Is that what he said?
Yeah, Gilby introduced me, and he was making it. He was finishing making his own sandwich, and he was like, something to the effect of, "How are you? You want a sandwich?" I was like, "No, I'm good, thanks, though."
Man, you should have taken that sandwich.
I should have taken it, stuffed it in a baggie, and then,
Slash sandwich on the back of it.
Never eaten it.
There you go. We're also talking about the liberal freakout that is currently underway. A couple of ways liberals are freaking out. It's been a pretty good week for conservatives or people that believe in the Constitution of the United States of America, libertarians, etc. So Joe Biden has this disastrous performance last Thursday, and liberals don't know what to do with it, and they still don't know what to do with it. As a matter of fact, we now have the first example of an elected official calling for Joe Biden to withdraw from the 2024 race. Representative Lloyd Doggett, Democrat of Texas, became the first elected Democrat to call on President Joe Biden to withdraw from the 2024 presidential race, saying the president has, quote, failed to defend his record and to reassure voters that he is the man for the job during last week's debate. Acknowledging Biden's accomplishments for his party, Doggett said in a statement, many Americans have indicated dissatisfaction with their choices this election. President Biden has continued to run substantially behind Democrat senators in key states and in most polls has trailed Donald Trump. I had hoped the debate would provide some momentum to change that. What have I told you, folks? Can I get some Murphy Was Right music? This was always going to be a referendum. This was the Biden replacement theory, friends. In action. You do the debate when they did the debate because you got to figure out if Joe's your guy. I was right. Thank you. They did the debate then for a reason, to see if this guy could withstand the rigors of it. And obviously he could not. So Lloyd Doggett calling on Joe Biden to step aside, but the Biden people say, wait a minute, did Lloyd make this statement before or after we got the new bronzer? Because he's got the new bronzer now and he looks great. Apparently the Democrats or people surrounding themselves around Joe Biden want to blame his debate preparation. It was only 8 days and 16 people, guys. It was only 8 days and 16 people. And apparently they think that he looked too pale on stage because now they've got him in new bronzer. In the meantime, the Democrats are also freaking out over the immunity ruling. I mean, the left is, talking about, the president has the ability to drone strike people or whatever. None of this is true. It's ridiculous. Liberals are sick in the head in a lot of ways, and it's a glimpse into the manner in which their brains work that upon reflecting on the ruling on Trump versus the United States, because they feel like it did not go their way, that they immediately assume that it is okay if they kill Donald Trump. which is what they've been running around talking about on television for the last 24 hours. Don't believe me? Well, here's an example. Pardon me for the clip there. I accidentally hit that early, but I can play it again for you if you want to. This is Representative Joy Reid of California, Democrat from California, making the suggestion. Okay, so this raises the obvious question, how in the hell would that be in the scope of his official duties? That's the whole point, lady. Do you not hear the words coming out of your own mouth? How is it acting within the scope of his official duties if he were to assassinate the Supreme Court? And also, what kind of sicko mind comes up with these scenarios that you would even suggest that it was in the umbrella of his official duties to do so? And then there's this one, and man, oh man, she's not taking it well. I believe Dan Mandis broke this down for you this morning on Nashville's Morning News, but it's worth a re-listen here. By the way, I love the way that Joy Reid, without her hairpiece on or whatever it is, I mean, Joy Reid's there, and she is, she's not coping well, first and foremost, and she's speaking very softly, as if she's whispering something to us, as if we're in an airport bathroom and she really needs a square to spare because she doesn't have any in her stall, and she's wondering if you wouldn't mind just slipping me something a little under the stall. And oh, by the way, while we're talking, Trump is not a legitimate president, and this Supreme Court is illegitimate as well. Let's listen in. Bell, are you listening to this?
Well, I wasn't until I heard Waffle House, and then she had my rapt attention.
I'm going to back it up because I need someone to tell me what this means. I thought that I heard this at first. Well, I've heard it twice now. I heard it first on Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. I listened to it again to try to figure out if I had missed something. I'm trying to figure out how Waffle House has anything to do with this. Okay, so because she doesn't care anymore about the old guy. I no longer care. Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, what does Waffle House have to do with any of this? She said there's a Best Western next door. There's a Waffle House next door. So she's going to spend a night at the Best Western and eat at Waffle House. And
I'm down with that plan. Let's do it.
I mean, I'm down with it. But if you're staying, Belle, can I ask you this? If you're staying at the Best Western, aren't you getting a free complimentary breakfast in the morning? I mean, sure, maybe.
Compared to Waffle House?
I understand that it's not the same thing, but you're paying good money for the Best Western.
Doesn't matter. You go for the extra with the Waffle House, man. Come on.
So you just say to hell with the Continental deal.
To hell with the Continental. I'm going to Waffle House.
You're getting the waffles and the eggs and or scrambled cheese. And
absolutely.
The first meal that Belle K ordered in my presence was 5 eggs scrambled with cheese and bacon.
Double bacon, extra crispy.
Double bacon, no hash browns, no bread, please. Thank you.
There you go.
And I knew, I said, this is a guy who knows what he likes, and I appreciate that. Also, it's disgusting. It's gross.
How many of those did you serve in your lifetime, sir?
Man, a lot of them. Boy, oh boy. Order scrambled cheese. Order scrambled cheese plates. Got to smoke the cover chunk top dice. Literally part. By the way, you take away those two people and they're still winning 4-3, but by the way, what is she talking about? She's acting as if it's new that the Supreme Court isn't the ultimate decider as to which laws do comport with the Constitution of the United States of America and which do not. Yes, exactly. Oh, man. Joy Reid can't handle it all. What with the Trump case and the Chevron case, oh, my goodness. Liberals cannot handle the idea of fairly losing in a court. And they always had the Supreme Court to back them up, at least during the entirety of my youth, up until Donald Trump. If nothing else, we thank Donald Trump for the court. And I understand Amy Coney Barrett is a little bit of a disappointment, but regardless of that, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, in their own ways, they are solid. They, not all the time, but most of the time. And in this case, certainly. We're done, y'all. This human being makes a lot of money on a major national network, and I know that we don't watch it, but Joy Reid is mentally, if she believes, she either doesn't believe this, which indicates that she's a shyster, or she believes it, and I'm sad to tell you that she is mentally insane. She claims that the goal of all of this is to roll back women's rights, black rights, child labor laws. So we'll have 12-year-olds working in the factories again. That doesn't happen in a constitutional republic. That doesn't happen in a place that believes in freedom and liberty and fair-minded and fair play regulation over business practices. That does happen in places where government takes over the means of production. Do you know where you see child exploitation in the world right now? In places where the government controls the means of production. What is that? That is socialism or communism or fascism. Well, fascism allows private means of production to continue, but they take over the profits. The only places around the world in which you see child labor issues or discriminatory practices along the lines that Joy Reid is talking about, you see those in socialist or communist countries. What do the Democrats want to transform the United States of America into, if not a socialist country? Forget that. No, you notice she said non-white immigrants. Forget that. I don't know. What? A few Supreme Court rulings that liberals don't like, and we're trying to repeal the entire 20th century. Hey, wait. Bonus. If we repeal the 20th century, that's good for climate change. Huh? Joy? What do you think? Yeah, good for climate change. Huh? Rockefeller. Yeah. Who believes in elected government more than the people that believe that those elected should be making the decisions about how our government operates? On the Chevron decision, which is something that is sticking in the craw of liberals, and they can't quite figure out how to spin it, the Chevron decision simply says this, that unelected bureaucrats cannot supersede elected officials in making and determining what the law says and doesn't say with regard to how it's applied to the American people. That's all it says. That it is up to the elected officials to make the determination as to what the law does or does not say, and that you cannot use unelected bureaucracy to shield yourself, if you are a Democrat, from scrutiny within the courts with regard to what the law says and what the law doesn't say. That's all. It is right-sizing of government. It is shrinking the size and scope of government. It's giving less power to Washington, D.C., and more power to you and to me. And Joy Reid can't handle it. You're delusional, everybody. Oh, well, there's a revelation. We're 3 minutes into this little mentally disturbed diatribe, and she's saying something that I didn't know, that she morally disagrees with a lot. Listen to this, a lot. Deeply, morally. Mm-hmm. You know what this tells me? That liberals are a little bit nervous about their guy, and they're nervous about their candidacy, and they're nervous that the American people are on to what they've been trying to do, which is grow the size and scope of government to the point that they declare it absolutely and totally 100% necessary in such a way that it is entangled in your daily life to the point where you can't untangle it. And it's at that point that they begin rescinding your rights. They tell you what they want to do by declaring it's something that they hate. They love the bureaucracy. They love the big government state. They love overspending. Look at what Joe Biden did earlier today with this heat.gov nonsense. They love it all. Jacob, we'll get to you. Diane will get to you. Chris will get to you. All coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, we love you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I want you to listen all day, every day. But when you are not, when you're in downtime or maybe off times, I encourage you to go over to Heartland Journal and check out the podcast presented by Steve Abramowitz and his team on a weekly basis, actually more than once a week oftentimes. The ever-popular Steve and Steve segment, historical artists and authors and cultural touchstones and entertainment figures and sports figures and political figures galore happened by the podcast with Steve Abramowitz and Heartland Journal. They're found on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and all of your favorite your podcast apps. You just type in Heartland Journal and you can find them. You can also find them on Rumble Video if you'd like. And obviously, Steve, in addition to the podcast, he is CEO and editor-in-chief of the Heartland Journal newspaper, which is found online at heartlandjournal.com. So stop by heartlandjournal.com and see what Steve's got going on. You might even check me out on the podcast page. Murphy's Law segment is up and running there as well. The Tennessean described him as conservative advocacy. I describe him as a good man with a smart podcast, and I encourage you to go watch heartlandjournal.com.
The U.S. vowing to send help to Caribbean islands affected by Hurricane Beryl. And an arrest has been made in the beating death of a man in East Nashville. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It's 1:26 right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you to all of you watching on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, brought to you by U.S. Pest, who say Happy Independence Day and Happy Independence Day week. Also, F&M Bank bringing you the chat over there. You can also listen on a variety of different streaming platforms. Just find us wherever you stream music or information and take us wherever you want to go. And then, of course, right here on the radio on 99.7 FM. Jacob is next in Springfield. Hey, Jacob, thanks for waiting. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Great.
I got this thing about, like, I'm a big Trump supporter, and I'm and I'm looking into Robert F. Kennedy, you know. He's a candidate for the presidential debate and everything, you know. And my thing is, when the Democrats are saying that these Democrats now are saying we don't need Joe Biden now after his performance in this debate. And when I watched it, I just saw an old man looking like he was shocked about something every time he said something that Trump said that was true, you know? My thing about it is, do you think they will get rid of Biden, or do you think they're going to try and get someone in that everybody's going to say, we know you're going to like them, and we know you're going to vote for them? Who do you think it should be? Or who do you think it's going to be they're going to make?
In answering this question and having this discussion, I would ask you, who do you think the natural choice would be if they made the decision to remove Joe Biden from the ballot? If somehow they convinced him to release his delegates, and he would have to agree to release the delegates for the ease of this transition, then who in the heck do you get?
Well, there's like they're going to have to choose so many people that they can think of, and they're going to be like, well, he stands for this, but he's against this, but she's against this. There's like so many people they could try, but I feel like it's not going to go well, and they're going to be like, we should have just kept Biden in the bid, and even if he lost, we would have. And the thing is,
what do you think? What do you think? And I will answer the question in a roundabout way by asking you this, Jacob, because you sound like a guy that you're thinking about these things. So, what do you think the liberals how would they react if the powers that be decide they're going to remove Joe Biden? We need a new candidate. It's bad. He's got dementia, yada yada yada. But then they skip over Kamala Harris, who is the current vice president, and they decide on someone else. How do you think that's going to go over amongst the Democrats?
Well, it ain't going to go well because,
Not going to go well. You're right.
You don't see a lot, but the thing is, you don't see a lot of Kamala Harris on TV now. You don't see her on the thing. It's like she doesn't exist. She only gets talked about once in a month. In a while.
Why do you think we don't see a lot of Kamala Harris?
Well, because I believe, and this is something I think is kind of true, I believe the media always focuses on the president, and they always put everything on him.
Sure.
And you know how, and after you see the debate, and I've noticed, CNN did a flash poll, and they said, who do you think will win the debate when this is over with? Before the debate, people said Biden. And then after the debate, Trump came in and won. The thing is, that was on CNN. And CNN is usually a Biden, pro-Biden channel, you know? Going everything for Biden. They like you said, like you talked about the Joyce thing when she was on her little thing about her little mental thing, you know? Like, we need to do this.
I'm going to try to cut to the chase because I'm a little bit limited on time, Jacob. The Democrats, as I said yesterday, if you were listening yesterday, and it's okay if you're not, I mean, I get it, busy lives. The Democrats are in a quandary. They cannot replace Joe Biden without skipping Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is soiled goods. She's not a very smart candidate, and she's very unlikable, and so they would have to skip her. If they do that, they're going to anger so many people within the Democrat Party. They are almost assured to lose the election regardless of who they get in there. So they have to hang on to her in some piecemeal fashion, which is why I believe if they were to replace Joe Biden, they would replace him with Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, his wife. And it sounds, and thank you, Jacob, I got to run. It sounds ridiculous, but I think it's their only play, considering that Michelle Obama refuses to participate in any discussions about whether or not to replace Joe Biden on the ballot. 131, Super Talk 99. Thank you for the call, Jacob. I appreciate the discussion. Call us back sometime. 131 on Super Talk.
Yes, good afternoon. It's 1:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly sunny sky, 92 degrees on Music Row. We'll get you that steamy forecast here in a bit. Record-breaking Hurricane Beryl, the earliest Category 5 storm in the Atlantic, back down to a Category 4, but it's still mighty dangerous with 155-mile-an-hour winds. It's expected to get a bit stronger again as it heads through the Caribbean and due to hit Jamaica sometime tomorrow. President Biden today vowing to send U.S. aid.
It's the earliest time ever a dangerous Category 5 hurricane has been recorded in American history. People impacted, islands and communities are in our prayers, and we stand by to provide assistance to them.
A man has been arrested for allegedly beating another man to death outside the Topgolf in East Nashville on Saturday night this past weekend.
Metro Police say 41-year-old Dehal Umesh was among members of Nashville's Nepali community attending a concert and was trying to break up a fight in the parking lot when he was punched, causing him to fall and hit his head. He was then kicked in the head. Umesh died this morning from his injuries. Police arrested 26-year-old Bishal Rai at his home in Antioch last night on an aggravated assault charge, but that's going to be upgraded to criminal homicide now that Umesh has died. Rai is being held without bond. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here, and I want to talk to you about my buddies over at the Glock store. If you've never visited the Glock store, what in the world are you waiting on? I admit it, for about a year into my tenure here at Nashville's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, I had not stopped by the Glock store. And when I did, I was like, where have I been? This is better. This is brighter. This is bigger. We have more selection. Not just Glocks, but obviously, if your name's the Glock store, you're going to have everything having to do with anything to do with Glocks whatsoever on the shelves, and they do at the Glock store. But they have other handguns. They have long guns. They've got their shooting rooms, Never Lane shooting rooms. And when it comes to performance parts for my own Glock, I always go to the source, the Glock store, and they install our parts for free while we wait. How about that? Of course, they have those incredible, incomparable Shoot 270 indoor shooting ranges. No lane nonsense. At the Glock store, you get an instructor, a private room, and off you go to help you better train for the experience of shooting, whether it's a competition or otherwise. It's the Glock store. It has everything that you need on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike and Broadley Parkway. The Glock store and GlockStore.com, just minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Glock store. Supertalk 99.7 WTN. So I promised I would go over some of the ways that we could go after Joe Biden. We're going to do that in just a moment. Liberal freakout continues. Several of you very angry at me. I mean, my goodness gracious, for playing certain aspects of Joy Reid's insanity. On the membersnutrition.com super text line, many of you commenting on said same. 4209 says, Trump should have said at the end of his closing statement at the debate, Jill Biden, the only wife that may have loved this poor man into the ground. John writes in and says, Matt, Jill is a desperate move and will look that way. Well, no, you don't couch it that way. I mean, John in Lawrenceburg is normally very astute on these. I mean, everything will look like a desperate move if you have to replace Joe Biden. But you keep the donor money in place. You can move the delegates far more easily if it's Jill. And it looks like a reflection of you're trying to present that the last 4 years of his presidency. This is the reason Jill works, right? You don't have to defend the last 4 years of his presidency because by promoting Jill Biden to the post, you're doing that in the promotion. You're saying the 4 years were so great, we want to continue exactly what Joe has done. We've gotten the person that is closest to him. Understand, you're talking to idiots. You're convincing, how do I put this, dumb people to vote for you. It's either they are motivated to go vote for you or they stay home. And right now, they are decidedly in the stay home category. They're not motivated to vote for Joe. They have no confidence in Joe. There was a recent poll that came out today on CNN's website regarding the aftermath of the debate. I'm going over some of those numbers with you in a couple of minutes, and it's bad. I do not believe that they will replace Joe. I don't think they can. They don't believe that they can. If they're going to die going down with this ship, I think that they eventually will. But if they do, I believe a good middle-of-the-road way to try to protect what they claim is Joe's good legacy and to protect their money, which would easily transfer to Jill, and to prevent Kamala from ascending to the president candidacy. Understand, the biggest aspect of my suggestion that they move Jill into that post is to prevent Kamala from getting it. The powers that be within the Democrat circles in Washington, D.C. know exactly what will happen if Kamala's their candidate. 8715's mad at me now. You calling the majority of American voters dumb is pretty rich. No. The socialist voters are not dumb. The people that the Democrats have to depend on to win the presidency are, because they depend on lies. I'll give you an example, 8715. The last 24 hours. MSNBC and #NeverCNN and ABC and NBC and CBS have run with this narrative that because the United States Supreme Court decided in favor of Trump, essentially, with regard to presidential immunity, and really it wasn't about Trump, it was about the presidency itself and the executive branch of government not being overshadowed by the legislative branch, or in this case, the judicial branch. For the last 24 hours, they've been telling us that this gives the president the authority to assassinate his political rivals. If you believe that, you are dumb, okay? If you believe that, you're dumb. I don't think you believe that. But the Democrats have to depend on the stupidity of the voter in order to motivate them to go and vote, such as, they're going to take away your rights. They're going to take away your right to labor laws. Are they going to take away your rights as a black person? Are they going to take away your rights as a female? It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I do believe that you have to in some way be dumb in order to be convinced to vote for the Democrats. Dumb being more than just ignorant. Ignorant is just an absence of information. Dumb is, can't be helped in a lot of ways. Anyway, John has continued. I don't want to get too far away from John's message. Matt, Jill is a desperate move and will look that way. I don't believe moderates and or the middle would be comfortable voting for her because they won't think she really knows the issues. But Dems will vote for an empty blue suit. So you don't think that they can convince the voters that Jill has a command of the issues above and beyond Joe? There's a history of this. That vote, wasn't it, who was it? Claire McCaskill? Is that right? Why does that come to mind? Who was the wife that recently took over for? Oh, maybe that was Dingell up in Michigan, where Dingell became too infirm and they appointed his wife and then eventually voted his wife into office. Obviously, way back in the day, there was
her last name Barry.
Her last name was not Barry. You're thinking of Megan Barry, who had a brother named Dingell. That's what you're thinking of. And then, of course, there's the Wallace example, George Wallace and Lurleen Wallace, in terms of voting for the wife, the spouse of an individual that you believe in. How would Jill get the campaign money? Because Kamala would still be on the ticket. That is correct. You move that money over. That's an easier move than picking someone else. Never underestimate the power of stupidity, says Sally. Sally, you are correct. So what does this Supreme Court ruling mean if the Democrats are correct? So they're telling us that this was wrongly decided because it gives undue ability for the President of the United States of America to do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it, just so long as he calls it an official act, despite the fact that in Trump v. United States, that Chief Justice John Roberts specifically and explicitly stated that this does not mean the president is above the law, and this obviously has to do with official duties as President of the United States. Liberals are freaking out anyway. I compiled a list, and I would invite you to join me on some of these things. I compiled a list. If liberals get what they want, they claim that this was wrongly decided, that the President of the United States does not enjoy actual immunity from criminal prosecution while president, or actual immunity from civil prosecution while president. Well, if that's the case, I have a few suits that we need to bring up regarding Joe Biden. So if liberals are correct that a president does not enjoy immunity, then Joe Biden is sued for a lack of border enforcement, first and foremost. And obviously, there are multiple lawsuits that can involve a lack of border enforcement. That you are violating the laws of the Constitution of the United States of America and the laws as written by the Congress of the United States of America, and you're doing so willfully. You're allowing individuals in here and doing actual harm to the American people. How so? Well, there's death. You can have a lawsuit for every person killed by an illegal alien or an illegal migrant that has come into this country under the watch of Joe Biden. If you're Border Patrol agents, you can sue for PTSD. You can sue for an inability to do your job. Businesses can sue because you're harming business as a result of this migrant activity. Municipalities, New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, Nashville, Tennessee. We can all sue the Biden administration under the liberal logic now that a president is not immune from these types of civil or criminal litigations or lawsuits. You can sue Joe Biden for the burden that his failure at the border has presented to these local municipalities, and have these municipalities recompensed for the amount of money that they have to spend on illegal alien activity, on the criminal activity, or just the basic burden that these illegal aliens present on the backs of the American people. So not only do you have the criminal lawsuits, you have civil lawsuits, you have businesses suing the government of the United States of America because of the burden that it presents, the unfair business practices. Hey, I go by the law. I only hire through I-9 forms. This guy down the street, he's hiring illegal alien labor that the Biden administration is presenting to him on a silver platter, so he has an unfair business advantage over me. So that's number one. You sue the Biden administration for a lack of border enforcement. Let's go over a few more. We can sue Joe Biden for the Chinese balloons that flew over the United States of America. We can sue Joe Biden for Ukraine and his inability to prevent the Ukrainian war because of his entanglements with the Ukrainian people, specifically Burisma, and his son's business dealings with Burisma. We'll sue him for that. Joe Biden has now illegally allowed for student loan forgiveness. The Supreme Court spoke specifically on this issue, and Joe Biden did it anyway. It's illegal. It's an unfair business practice. It's unfair to the people that have paid back our business loans. We can offer a class action lawsuit against Joe Biden himself. COVID mandates. We can sue because of the COVID mandates presented by the Biden administration in 2021 when he first became president of the United States.
Shouldn't we be able to go back and prosecute Obama for droning a U.S. citizen with no due process?
Bell, I'm going to have to ask you to wait on Obama because I am not a quarter of the way through how we're going to sue Joe Biden.
We got a lot of backs.
We're just kind of backing our way into Obama.
We're going to turn this into a whole month show.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that we're suing. But yes, to answer your question, of course we can. We can sue a president for anything now, according to the liberals. COVID mandates. We can sue for that. Oh, the manner in which they weaponized the FBI. Remember when they weaponized the Department of Justice and the FBI against parents and local school boards? Remember when the parents and the local school boards were kind of clapping back on these COVID mandates and whatnot, and they weaponized against them? We can do that. They canceled the Biden administration. One of the first acts that they made when they came into office, they canceled an operation called Operation Legend, which was designed to utilize the power of the federal government to assist municipalities around the United States of America to combat major crime organizations and operations happening around the United States. They pulled all of that money back, which exacerbated and created criminal activity within those municipalities, so we can sue them there. Obviously, the Afghanistan withdrawal, every family member of the 13 individuals that died at the hands of the Biden administration, they're going to sue. Every family member that had a family member left behind, every family that had a family member left behind in that disastrous lack of an operation, we can sue. Basically, the American people, if you're involved in the military at all, you can sue the Biden administration for their lack of coordination and effort with regard to the Afghanistan withdrawal. But obviously, the major piece on that is the death of the 13 soldiers. Climate agenda. Businesses can sue based on this ridiculous climate agenda and how it is harming business. Some of the rules and regulations as a result of that. We can have businesses sue basically on inflationary rates alone and the overspending on the part of the federal government. They canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. We can sue as regard to that cancellation. And on and on and on and on and on it goes. Every single human being that has lost a family member to the scourge of fentanyl can sue the Biden administration because they lost their family member because the Biden administration refuses to protect the southern border. Are y'all beginning to get the damn picture?
Are we going to do this in reverse order? Like, how long do I have to wait to sue Woodrow Wilson?
You got to get to Obama first. Damn. I was about to tell you, how are we suing Barack? How do you want to go? How do you want to go about this first? I'm ready for you. You ready to sue Barack?
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's sue him.
Can I sue W?
Yeah, why not? Okay. Iraq War, foreign entanglements. We'll get some lefties in there. We'll show some lefty love.
Cool.
I mean, there's no problem because we can sue them. Sounds pretty ridiculous, doesn't it? Let me repeat that. Sounds pretty ridiculous, doesn't it? Liberals. Well, Matt, now you're just being silly. Am I? Am I being silly? Or is it the political left being silly as they stand and sit on major American media networks? Networks that people actually bother to watch and claim that because of this decision by the United States Supreme Court yesterday that Donald Trump can assassinate people and get away with it. That's what they said. And I'm the one being silly? Of course, this ruling does none of the sort. If you want the real skinny, I'll give it to you in a minute. It's pretty simple. We'll take your calls. If you have any ideas about who we can sue and how, Sally wants to go after Jimmy Carter first. You know what? We might want to get him first, before
he passes.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
What is he, 99?
His grandson gave an interview like a month ago and said, we really had no idea. We thought he would be gone. I mean, and he's not being mean-spirited. He was like, we thought he would be gone. Like,
he's been in hospice for over a year.
Yeah. And he said on a lucid day that Jimmy told him, was like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm ready to go too. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's, I guess that's wonderful that he's at that level of peace with where he is and where he's going. But, yeah. Yeah, so we're suing the Biden administration per liberal logic. Tell me how you're going to sue him 52 after the hour on Super Talk. You know, sometimes I'm asked, mostly by liberals, Murphy, how do you sleep at night? I say very well, thank you, in part thanks to Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. That's right, Dr. Poss is helping me sleep better with my appliance that I put in every night. Thank you to Dr. Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Here's the deal. I did not know that I had sleep apnea. I don't snore that much. I'm one of the minority of sleep apnea sufferers that don't snore. And because of that, I didn't realize that I had it. Well, I talked to Dr. Poss about this and said, you know, I'm just not sleeping that well. He said, have you had a sleep test? I said, no. He said, get a sleep test. And I did. And lo and behold, you know, I'm one of the 25% of adults that have sleep apnea and was unaware of it. Well, I'm very aware now because now that I have had a 3D scanning of my mouth, now that I've had an appliance that has been customized specifically for my teeth and my mouth, it is inobtrusive. I put it in. I don't think about it. It's not like one of those CPAP machines that I don't think I could wear. It gently holds my jaw forward and in place so it allows airflow, and I don't compact at night. Therefore, there's no snoring, there's no disruption, and there's no sleep apnea. How about that? drposs.com for more information. drposs.com. 2 convenient locations. One's in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. Plus, they are in network with all major insurance companies like BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE for the military. Call them or go online today at drposs.com. That's drposs.com.
A congressional Democrat has come forward and is calling for Joe Biden to step aside. That's a first. And utilities in portions of California are being turned off. We'll tell you why. That's coming up at 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm going to let Jay Harper talk to you here in just a moment and deliver some of the news headlines as I watch a White House press conference that is just, it's like a Saturday Night Live skit. As the reporters continuously ask Karine Jean-Pierre about the president's health and debate performance, and Karine Jean-Pierre consistently says, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. He had a cold. Was he on any medication? No, he was not on any medication. Has he seen a doctor? No, he's not seen a doctor. Well, how the hell do you know he had a cold then? More to come. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's Jay Harper.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a blazing sun. We're up to 95 degrees. We've got a full forecast on the way. The first sitting congressional Democrat to call publicly for President Biden to step aside is a 77-year-old Texan. We've got details on that now from ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas, he is calling on the president publicly to step away from the race. He says President Biden's first commitment has always been to our country, not to himself. I'm hopeful that he will make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. I respectfully call on him to do so. We did also hear from top Biden ally Jim Clyburn, House Democrat. He says he does support President Biden, but if President Biden were to step aside, he would support Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket.
Now we move westward toward California. The lights and air conditioning are being turned off in northern parts of California because of wildfire danger.
With the goal of preventing wildfires, Pacific Gas and Electric has now started shutting off power to about 12,000 Northern California customers are mainly in the wildfire-prone foothills of the Sierra Nevada and places like Lake Shasta and Butte counties. Red flag fire warnings are up because of extreme heat and wind to prevent power lines coming down and starting wildfires. For the last couple of years, when conditions warrant, PG&E cuts off the electricity.
That's Alex Stone reporting, and I'm Jay Harper with the latest news. Weather's next on WTN News.
USS is United Structural Systems. They do foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling better than anybody in the industry today, and I'm here as a testimony to all of that. I started to say that they need to help the White House get their foundation underneath them based on their story about Joe Biden's performance at last Thursday's debate. But more on that coming up in just a moment. Let me talk to you about concrete. Let me talk to you about the PolyLift system. The PolyLift system is simple. The USS system is less expensive than concrete replacement. It offers higher load capacities than some of the other alternatives. No color change in your concrete, no damage to your grass or your landscaping, and work is completed in a couple of hours. Here's how they do it. It is a PolyLift foam that they shoot into and underneath your concrete. They get it back up to level. They get it back up level with the rest of the property. They seal it off, and you are done. You don't have to rip out the concrete and start new. That's a big deal, folks, and it's saving you thousands and thousands of dollars. Call today for the PolyLift Explainer at USS, United Structural Systems, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky since 1994. They are 30 years old. Wish them happy birthday when you make the call that so many others have made. 25,000 plus satisfied residential customers and growing every single day. Call 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS. Online, USSTN.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We got to go quick because I don't want to miss some of the deliciousness that's happening right now in the press briefing room at the White House.
Today. You just really
I understand that, Bell. I was about to get to it. So Bell K distracted me. My desire to see Slash on the show, which will not happen, by the way, because Bell was lazy and didn't bother to go do it. So blame him. If you wanted to hear from Slash, I'm sure he would be ready, willing, and able to talk all things politics if we asked him to. But
well, he's got a new album out.
That's what I hear. I hear Iggy Pop was a part of it.
Actually, there was a lot of different people on it. It's a like traditional blues record.
Like Chris Stapleton's on it, right?
Yeah, and Brian Johnson from AC/DC.
You see how we could have talked to Slash about it? I bet he's listening right now going, why didn't we do an interview with those guys? And they didn't ask.
Yeah, because one of the biggest music artists of all time is not listening to music in the car.
Probably not. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Here's what I know. Every time you don't ask for somebody to be on your radio station, you get a no. That's what I do know. I also, you never get the title of the episode if you don't ask either. And episode 603 has not been titled as of yet, and we're 2 hours late. And that is my fault. That is my responsibility.
Very true.
If you want to blame Bell for no Slash, so be it. Blame me for no title. But today, right now, at this hour, in this moment, Bell is ready to repair it. Episode 603 is entitled,
Matt Murphy has 100% qualified immunity for anything he does on the radio. Oh, yeah. Suck it, libs.
Yeah, suck it, libs. Speaking of libs, here's Jean-Claude, as so named. Who was it? Was it Desjardins that called him Jean-Claude? No, it's John Rose. They called her Jean-Claude. Karine Jean-Pierre, a.k.a. Jean-Claude, is speaking at the podium in the White House press briefing room. We're going to go to that live because they're all asking. They're doubling down on this cold. He had a cold. It was a bad night. He had a cold. Let's listen in. He doesn't look like he has a cold. She said Joe Biden's feeling better from his cold. Wait a minute. You same liars were telling us like a month ago that he was as sharp as can be and that he outlasted the young staffers. Remember that? Ha! America. They said earlier that he hasn't seen the doctor since last February. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. You know, Corinne Jean-Pierre looks like a photo negative of Little Orphan Annie. You ever notice that? Not at all. Not at all. They have been asking her about his health for 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. Nice. MJ Lee, CNN, White House correspondent. I'm sorry, folks. I love this. I absolutely love it. The leftist media is now challenging the leftist in the White House over their leftism and their lies. It's high time. $500 gaggles. Can I finish? Can I finish? It's such a lie. Everybody in that room knows that that's a lie. He does it because he has to. What do you think? Who are you? Corinne Jean-Pierre, super predator. The more she talks, the more she sounds like Joe Biden. She's making zero sense. Let me tell you something. All right, one more question, and if it's... All right, so yeah, they're calling. Pull her down, get her out of here. They're calling her out on her lies now because she's like, well, we've had plenty of press conferences. They're talking about these press conferences when a dignitary comes to the United States of America or the president goes overseas and they stand on stage together and each individual, I mean, there are like 6 total questions asked, one for one of the leaders and one for the other. So Joe Biden gets a total of 3 questions. They count those as press conferences. I don't remember the last time, Bell, see if you can fact check this. I don't remember the last time Joe Biden did a press conference. I think it was a year or so ago, at least, where Joe Biden stood before the American people and the members of the press and answered questions for an extended period of time. And even then, he had a list of pre-selected individuals that would ask him said questions, and there was a suggestion that he had the nature of the questions beforehand. In the meantime, Karine Jean-Pierre is being repeatedly asked about the man's health, and all she can say is, we had a bad night and he had a cold. We had a bad night and we had a cold. Well, they brought up that Nancy Pelosi said, we need to figure out if this is an episode or a condition. Here's what she said. I don't know if anybody's asked this question, but if I'm sitting in the briefing room, I would raise my hand and say, you mentioned that the president of the United States, after 8 days of preparation, after 16 different individuals in and around the White House, assisted in that preparation for this debate performance, for this 90 minutes on stage before the American people. You mentioned that he had a cold, but otherwise it was a bad night. Ms. Jean-Pierre, how many nights are bad nights? How often does the president have a bad night similar to the bad night that he had on stage before the American people? How often do you see him at night, and how often are those nights bad nights? Because I would suggest that every night's a bad night. I would suggest that this president is at his best when we see him on camera. I've been saying this for the last 4 years, and I'll repeat it till the cows come home. Remember this. The best you are going to see him is when he's on camera. They know when he's on camera every day. Every bit of their day is built and surrounded by getting him ready for that moment. When he was on camera at the FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C. earlier today, when we started our show and we presented some of his nonsensical verbiage, that's the best he's going to be that day. The best he's going to be is when he is in front of the public. And if you don't think that they did everything in their power to get him the best that he could possibly be for his 90-minute debate, you're fooling yourself. That was the best that they could get him that night. That was the best that he was going to be that day. It's the leader of the free world. I don't care about the presidency in November. I care about the presidency on July 2nd. He's president right now. Right now. And we're getting laughed at. We're getting laughed at. Angela's in Nash. Thank you for the call, Angela. How are you?
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to respond to the Joy Reid conversation that you had recorded.
Yes, ma'am.
As I was listening, I thought, oh, my gosh, I read this last night. This is what she's doing. Did you hear the last 2 words she said? Was Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that?
I did.
That is a big thing that the Democrats are doing right now to take votes away from Trump, which Project 2025 is from the Heritage Foundation, which is a nonprofit foundation, and the president is Kevin Roberts. And it's like a vision, of where they want to see the conservative government, which it sounds a little libertarian to me. But anyway, my daughter called me terrified. So, Trump, Project 2025, he's going to So it's good for Republicans and supporters to understand what that is, because they're using it. It is flooding TikTok right now. They're trying to take votes, away and scare the Gen Z and the millenniums right now with Project 2025. And then even Google's like, it's a future plan for Trump to follow. One sentence, which is all they need, is one sentence.
Well, and you're right in your analysis. I did a little bit of research on Project 2025 several weeks ago. I was being challenged by a liberal who wrote me an email and was like, "You're a part of Project 2025 or whatever." And so I did a little dive into it. And you're right, it's a Heritage Foundation project. And I'm looking on their website right now. It says the actions of liberal politicians in Washington have created a desperate need and a unique opportunity for conservatives to start undoing the damage the left has wrought and build a better country for all Americans in 2025. The goal of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project we're going to rescue this country from the grip of the radical left, and we need both a governing agenda and the right of the people in place ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration. So it's a conservative approach or a conservative project to kind of focus conservatives on the most important agenda items facing us for the near and long term. It's the best way that I could put it.
And they have an individual list. So that is what Joy Reid was reading off of and kind of stating in an off-term way. They do have lies, half truths. But anyway, so she was kind of making all that conversation that you recorded up from Agenda, Project 2025, twisting it a little bit. But there is a list. And, it's so silly. They've been around since 1972. I don't think right now they're going to come out and take over the world.
Well, the liberals are going to use this language because it sounds scary, right? Project 2025. They think it's scary. It's not.
But people need to be educated.
Yeah, sure.
So that they can at least respond back when people say that. Because, they're vulnerable, Gen Z and millenniums right now. So, just saying.
Angela, great call, great thoughts. I appreciate it very much. 23 after the hour, the White House press conference continues. They're announcing that apparently Joe Biden's doing a news conference before the NATO summit coming up in the next several weeks. Don't know if that's a standalone or if it will be in conjunction with something else. I imagine it will be in conjunction with something else if Joe Biden is the candidate in the next several weeks. There's a new poll out by CNN. I'll tell you some of the results. It is after the debate from last Thursday, and it is a bloodbath for the Biden administration. More on that coming up next. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Do you have back pain? Do you have neck pain? Do you have knee pain? Do you have hip pain? Do you have elbow pain? All of these things can be treated, any pain, with no needles and no downtime. At the Dr. Gill Center, they've been helping people get back to a pain-free life for well over 30 years. Now, you've heard all of us on Super Talk talking about the Dr. Gill Center and how much they do for the patients that they serve. I want you to make the call. If you've been in pain and you pop some pills and you think, well, my pain is not enough to merit a conversation with Dr. Gill, stop doing this to yourself. Let's get pain-free right now in the middle of the summer in 2024 with the Dr. Gill Center. They can offer you for less than $50 an initial consultation. They'll talk with you about where the pain originates. They'll give you some x-rays. They'll go over those x-rays with you, and they will consult with you on the best plan of action moving forward. And then you'll get your initial adjustment right there as your initial consultation proceeds. That's all for less than $50, and the initial phase of getting you back to a pain-free life. The Dr. Gill Center, that's what they are invested in, and they've been doing it for a long time in our community, and they've been on the cutting edge of the new technologies since they started the center some 30-plus years ago. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Call them today, 615-882-4838, 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center.
In an effort to stop his campaign's bleeding, the president scheduling a sit-down interview, his first since the debate, and more Middle Tennesseans in particular are dealing with incidents involving pellet guns. What's that all about? We'll have those stories for you at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Jay Harper with the dentist headlines coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know why I say that joke. It always makes me giggle. It makes nobody else giggle. 28 minutes after the hour right now. I'm listening. I'm a little bit loopy because I decided, Bell, I made a tactical error. You know, we had some of that alcohol left over from one of these station parties around the station, and I decided to take a sip every time Karine Jean-Pierre said that Joe Biden had a bad night the other night.
Well, you know, I'm just surprised she's actually admitted that once, much less multiple times.
Repeatedly. It was a bad night. We've said it was a bad night. It was a bad night. We've said it was a bad night. So I'm sipping on this beverage, and you're going to have to drive me home now because I'm totally blitzed. Well, it was a bad night, bad night, bad night, bad night, bad night, bad night. Let's see.
You'll be
the crawl here right now. White House. We understand it was a bad night. Let's just join it. Give me 30 seconds. Let's see if she says bad night. Bad night. Say it. What'd you share? Bad night. I bet you do. I bet you do.
Turn it. You want to burn it.
Yeah. Bad night.
It was a bad night. Before one bad night.
They're saying in her ear right now, say it was a bad night. Just say it was a bad night.
was a bad night.
It was a bad night.
It was a bad night.
Who hasn't had a bad night, Bill? You have a bad night?
Not as bad as Biden did.
Oh, yeah. Bad night. You know, bad night. In other words, stop asking me about how awful he was. Wait. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah, that's a good question. Jay, stand by. We're going to get the answer to this question. Harper's standing by for the news. Bad night. What? All right, so yeah, get out of this. As this is going so bad that they're pulling out of the press conference because bad night. We're going to reassess, see how many times Karine Jean-Pierre can say bad night while Jay Harper delivers the headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. We are coming up on 2:32, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got, do we have sunshine? We're up to 95 degrees on Music Row, a steamy forecast on the way. President Biden announcing that he will sit down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos on Friday in his first TV interview since last week's presidential debate. It comes as more and more allies are urging the president to show that he's strong enough to win the election this fall or throw in the towel. More from ABC's Elizabeth Schulze in Washington.
The criticism is that he needs to do more remarks that are unscripted to answer questions from the press, just reading off of the teleprompter, which is what has been the format that he's stuck with since his debate performance. A lot of critics, and those critics are growing louder, that's not what they say is enough.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, there have been numerous incidents involving people randomly shooting at other people with pellet guns in Tennessee.
Channel 4 says the latest is in Tullahoma, where police say they arrested 2 suspects accused of shooting at people and vandalizing property. Hunter Elliott and Joseph Bolduch have been charged with 5 counts of reckless endangerment and 5 counts of vandalism. Tullahoma police think there have been similar incidents in surrounding jurisdictions that have gone unreported. They posted images of a car believed to have been used during those shootings, and they're asking anyone with information to contact their investigation division. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for JK, Erica, and the team at U.S. Pest. U.S. Pest is fabulous at pest control on your property and in your home. And if you don't have regular inspections of your home, might I suggest you might be doing it wrong, because the pests will not stop. They will continue to try to get into your home. They will continue to try to use your services for their own advantage. You can have full service pest control with spiders and stink bugs and ants and ladybugs and mice and silverfish and roaches and much, much more with a 100% money-back guarantee. They also offer termite protection with also a 100% money-back guarantee. They offer preventative and corrective services. Every home in Tennessee is in danger of termites. You're threatened by termites, and you need to protect your home with U.S. Pest. Plus, they offer crawl space services with moisture barrier solutions, fungus treatments, and a 100% money-back guarantee there as well. U.S. Pest, the only place that I would recommend to treat for bugs in your area. Call them today for a free pest inspection or go online at uspest.com. That's uspest.com. Here's that number, 615-590-1260. 590-1260. U.S. Pest says Happy Independence Day from all of the gang at U.S. Pest. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about this incredible special being run at Craft Body Scan right now. Our friends at Craft Body Scan offering a heart and lung scan for only $149 for the month of July. The couple's heart and lung scans are typically valued at over $2,500. It's an incredible savings for anyone looking for a non-invasive and simple way to check on their heart, their lungs, and it's important you do so. We hear countless stories of lives saved by these scans right here in the city of Nashville, right here in the state of Tennessee, where major issues are discovered through a CT scan, even when you don't have symptoms. And that's what it's all about. Take a proactive step toward your better health with early detection through Craft Body Scan. I know I was concerned about my health. I got a full body scan with Craft Body Scan. It gave me such peace of mind. Book your couple's heart and lung scan today for only $149 at togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com. Or call for an appointment, 615-436-1000, 436-1000. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, and you. So Karine Jean-Pierre just finished up a ridiculous press conference in which she said...
It was a bad night.
It was a bad night. It was a bad day. It was a bad night. She said it 148,000 times in one press conference that it was a bad night. Let me just play a random clip to see if she says bad night. bad night. Of course she hasn't, because she's only the press secretary. Why would she read that stuff? Other than that, he just had a bad night. Dan is in Franklin with a thought on the press conference. Hey, Dan.
First of all, Matt, we do need to get tickets out to everyone for a night with Matt Murphy, because the stuff that you've been pulling off is so hilarious. Crying out loud, Matt, laughing emoji when you said the gaggle and the gaggle noise. Can you do that again?
It's the gaggle noise.
That was a riot.
That's what they sound like. If you've noticed, and what Dan's referring to, when they do that gaggle, like outside of the White House when he's getting on Air Force or Marine One going there, that you see, like when he finishes an answer, all the reporters go, and that's what it sounds like. Anyway, sorry, Dan.
Okay, also, the Annie photo negative off the charts, hysterically funny. I laughed out loud on both of those.
Good.
Her other favorite phrase is, I get it. I get it. I get it, which means she doesn't get it, and she doesn't want to get it. So all she could say today is, bad night, I get it, it's a bad night. And the question that I want...
Well, I mean, Dan, let's pause on that, because you bring up an excellent point, and I did not think... The I get it really means I don't want to talk about it. Like, I agree with you. Like, so the reporters are basically saying... Hey, Karine Jean-Pierre, I don't know if you've noticed, but the president seems like he's a dementia-addled old man that needs to be in a nursing home. And she goes, I get it. Yes. I get it. I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
And it's the same thing that Obama used to do when he would say the notion that, and he would cut people down. What she's saying is, I'm above you. I know what you're talking about, and I get it. Okay, last thing, a question for her from one of the reporters. National polls now say 2/3 of Americans believe it's been not a bad night, a bad 3.5 years. How do you respond to that fact?
Wait, no. Say that last part again. You cut out on my headphone. My headphones cut out for a second.
National polls now say that 2/3 of Americans believe it's been not a bad night, but a very bad 3.5 years. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to that fact?
Look, Dan, I get it. And we understand that because of this bad night that a lot of people are frustrated, but the president is out there. He loves talking to you, Dan. He loves talking to the American people. He loves communicating the ideas and the things we've been able to accomplish. Look, I get it. And what you need to get is that he came in here and it was the most disastrous presidency in the history of in the world forever. So we had to overcome that. We had to clean the White House really good. We had to scrub it before we could even get started. So I get it, Dan. I get it.
No, but Matt, the truth is she doesn't get it. And the reality is you and I and everybody in Tennessee and the whole country, we're the ones that get it.
They're going to get it. They're going. I feel like they're going to get it, Dan. I mean, I feel it in my bones. They're going to get it, unless something weird happens between now and then. But I would admonish you, and I know Chris Hand's been saying as much, and I'll say it to you as well. Do not rest on your laurels. Things went well this week. We had a couple of really good decisions from the United States Supreme Court. The courts decided that yes, the president does have limited official immunity with regard to his actions in the White House, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing not just for this president, but for any president of the United States. You have to have that in order to operate an efficient White House. We had a good moment with the Chevron case. Not so good with social media platforming in the First Amendment. That was a badly decided case, in my opinion. But for the most part, this court made decisions based on the Constitution of the United States. That's a great week in the final week of the court being into session before they go on break for the summer. Secondarily, we had a great week, if you believe in our constitutional republic, because Joe Biden was exposed to more people than ever before in terms of his cognitive decline. Finally, the mainstream media cannot continue to avoid talking about it. They would love that, but they can't do it. Here's my prediction. They're trying to hold off this wave until after July 4th. My prediction is this. If this dies out as a story post July 4th, they're going with Biden for the foreseeable future. But if this storyline continues until Monday or Tuesday, they've got a problem. Houston, they've got a big problem. And they know that. If this narrative continues within the mainstream, the ABC, CBS, NBC, the reason that he's sitting down, as Jay Harper mentioned to you, with George Stephanopoulos is because that's a friendly. And George and ABC, they're going to help him. They're going to prep him. They're going to do everything that they need to do. They are there to repair his reputation, not to interview him, not to ask him difficult questions, not to talk to him about his cognitive decline. They're there to repair his image with the American people. See, he has the ability to sit down with George Stephanopoulos, a guy that's going to ask the hard-hitting questions. What a joke.
It was a bad night.
Was that the only one you could find?
It was a bad night.
Yes.
It was a bad night.
I get it.
It was a bad night.
Here she is. Listen to this. Listen to this. So wait a minute. So listen to what they're doing. This is so insulting to your intelligence that Jean-Claude Pierre, as we now call her on the Matt Murphy Show, as so named by John Rose, Jean-Claude over there called all of this cheap fakes. Oh, this is cheap fakes. This nonsense. He's not in cognitive decline. He's not just staring out into space. And then we all witnessed it for 90 minutes the other night. And the media, rightly so, is coming back to her. And good for them. They are finally, even the leftist media in that press briefing room, they're getting a belly full of this nonsense. And they're looking at her and saying, what are you saying? Man.
I don't know.
You called these cheap fakes. You said that these moments of confusion or bewilderment that we all saw present and accounted for on stage, you called cheap fakes. And she's like, no, I don't apologize for any of that. Because she thinks she's better than you. The bureaucracy is better than you. Uh-huh. Yeah, a certain part of the media. They're not cheap, ma'am. They are moments in time where Joe Biden loses his ever-loving mind and loses the ability to function. And we know it, and we see it. You can call it whatever you want to. Oh, by the way, Karine Jean-Pierre also said today in the press conference that Joe Biden is consulting with wife Jill, and his son Hunter is now joining White House meetings with top aides and his father after the disastrous debate performance. According to NBC, White House staff members are asking each other what the hell's happening. Hunter is speaking with senior White House staff, and they have no idea why. No idea whatsoever. But, of course, why wouldn't Joe want to talk with the smartest man he's ever met? Hunter Biden. One of the smartest guys I've ever met, Brian Wilson, is coming up next with The Drive. We'll talk to him, find out what's happening on The Drive this afternoon. That's right after this on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. News coming in this hour from New York City, anticipated by some recognizing the significance of the immunity case from yesterday. The Trump folks, his legal team, requested from Judge Juan Merchan in New York City that they delay his sentencing, which was scheduled for July 11th next week. That delay has been accepted by the judge in the case, has now delayed former President Trump's sentencing in New York v. Trump to September after request from presumptive Republican nominee to do so. So all the other three cases are on the back burner. They're not to be heard before the presidential election. And now the sentencing scheduled for September. Let's bring in Brian Wilson here in advance of The Drive with Brian Wilson from 3 until 7. Brian, any chance that the sentencing happens in September, or do you think that it will ultimately be delayed any longer than that?
Well, everything's getting pushed back, isn't it? I mean, that's the amazing thing. I mean, there is nothing out there now between now and nearly the election except for this one item. These other cases have evaporated. Or at least been pushed off so far that they won't happen until after the election, the way it looks now. So, again, the road is pretty clear right now for Trump. And to me, that's a big story. But I got to tell you, I've been sitting here thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I with the exception of perhaps 9/11, I can't think of a bigger story that is developing before our very eyes. And it's developing not in an instant, but in rather slow motion. And we're in the middle of really, if you want to think about it, a constitutional crisis. And are we going to have to impose the 25th Amendment? It's being openly discussed today.
Now you have Democrats.
Openly discussed by Democrats as well. Yeah, I mean, there is a drumbeat, and I've seen this happen. It starts, I always talk about it with big scandals. There's a drip, drip, drip every day. There's a new story. Here it's a drumbeat, and the drumbeat is getting louder, and that the pace of the drum beats are continuing, and it's like every few minutes there's something else about, what's going to happen here. I mean, Democrat governors meeting you on a phone call to talk about, we need somebody else to run, and and now you've got a Democrat member of Congress coming out and saying he's got to go. And that's the first time that's happened.
Wow.
We are witnessing something that we will talk about for many, 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 many years. But I want you to know, I will be reliably engaged until 7 o'clock tonight.
Wow. Don't have a bad night, Brian. That's the biggest thing. Don't have a bad night. Brian Wilson promises he will not have a bad night. And he doesn't have a cold, to our knowledge, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And he's coming up with The Drive right after Jay Harper of the news. And Jay Harper's coming up right now on Super Talk. Have a great evening. Hug your loved ones. See you tomorrow.